So everyone will always tell you that starting a business is risky. People love to say how you're going to lose all your money, you're going to look stupid to your family, everyone's going to hate you, and you're going to be homeless, and everything that can possibly go wrong will. But what if there was a way that you could start your business while minimizing those risks as much as possible to the point where there is pretty much no risk in starting your business? So if you are somebody that wants to start a business, but you're petrified by that fear of failure, watch this video because I'm going to break down how you can avoid those risks and just play on the upside. So I'm going to break down some tactics that will apply directly to people that want to build e-commerce businesses on Amazon, but there are some overarching themes that apply and go even deeper than just Amazon and really apply to every business out there, or really just life. So let's start there. Let's first get this YouTube algorithm stuff out of the way. Smash the like button, subscribe, leave a comment, do all that stuff, feed the algorithm so we can all get on with the content. So thanks. So let's first just acknowledge what risk is. Everyone is talking about business being risky, but all risk is fear. Risk is fear. And that fear is that you don't know what's going to happen when you start this business, and you're afraid of the potential outcomes because you're stepping into something that is unknown and it could go badly. And our brains are wired for fear, right? Evolutionarily, we've always been running away from something. We've always been geared to figure out, how are we going to not die? How are we going to have the best chances of having the resources that we need to flourish? And now in the modern age, we're afraid of things that are not really all that scary. So you might be afraid of losing some money. You might be afraid that everyone's going to think you're stupid. You might be afraid that you're going to waste your time. But the thing is that all of these things are really not that bad. And this idea comes from Tim Ferriss, who is a huge influence of mine in business and in just lifestyle design, the way I live my life. And he talks about something called fear setting in the 4-hour work week. And this is a great strategy that applies to everything. And in this context, when you're going to take a risk, one thing that really takes the edge off of it is meditating on the worst case scenario. So, okay, you're afraid of losing your $5,000 that you bought your initial inventory to sell on Amazon. You're afraid that you're going to lose that money. Okay, so what? What's the worst that happens if you lose that money? Map it out, write it down, figure out what you would do. If something goes wrong, what would you do? Would you go back to your job? Would you just save up for another couple months and get that money back? Would you just have people around you to help? Are you afraid that you're going to be homeless if you fail? Well, do you have people in your life that would help you out if that was really going to happen? Do you have people you could ask for advice? Do you have people that could help you out in all kinds of different ways? Figuring out what are the potential solutions to the potential worst case scenario is a massive way to take the edge off of that risk, take the fear out of that risk. And you need to realize that these urges that we have, that you have, that I have, to build a better life for ourselves, to really go for something that is abnormal, to go for something that people tell us we're going to fail at and that people will make us feel crazy for, you have to realize that these urges are good urges. You are right for feeling that way. You're right for feeling not content by going to college and getting a job that when you're going to sit in a cubicle doing something that you don't like. You are right for feeling like that is crazy. And the reason for that is because that is fucking crazy. It's crazy to do that. I mean, you're alive and there's so much potential to do whatever you want in the world. And so you're crazy for not trying to go for whatever it is that you do really want. And everybody is going to tell you that you're crazy. But you have to realize that they are telling you that from their own place of fear. They're afraid of going for what they want. So they're trying to hold you back. They're trying to pull you back down. It's like that analogy that people say with the crabs. Like if you put a bunch of crabs, I've never done this. I don't know if anyone's ever done this, but this is what people say, right? Is that you put a bunch of crabs into a bucket, that if one tries to climb out, that the others will pull it back. And that is just an example of what's going on here. The people that are telling you you're crazy have never faced that fear themselves to go for what they want. And because they are finding comfort in their own insanity of doing something that they don't like, that they're going to tell you that you're crazy for going for what it is that you want to do. So the people that tell you those things they have held themselves back, and they are choosing a terrible situation over an uncertain situation. And if I'm advising you of anything here, it is to realize that the uncertain situation is worth going for if it can potentially lead to what you want. And those risks of dying, you're not going to die. Most of these things have solutions. So figure it out. What is the risk to you? What are you actually afraid of? What is the worst case scenario? And write some things down. What would you do if those things happened? What would you do if you lost a few $1,000s? What would you do if somebody thought you were stupid or somebody made fun of you for failing? Like you'd freaking move on. You'd figure it out. So Tim Ferriss refers to this as fear setting, identifying your fears and then mapping out potential solutions if things really did go as bad as possible. And once you get it out of your head, you'll realize most of those things are completely unfounded. And more importantly, they don't outweigh the upside. They don't outweigh the potential of getting what you want. You need to realize how powerful that is to actually go for the lifestyle or the purpose or whatever it is that you want to bring into the world, to realize that that is important and that is what you should be doing and that is worth going for. And it doesn't matter if you lose a little bit of money, you can get some more. It doesn't matter if one idiot thinks you're an idiot. There's plenty of other people out there. It just doesn't matter. Like these things that we're afraid of are just not that big of a deal. And if you're that afraid of losing a little bit of money, then you can get a job, because losing a little bit of money should not be the absolute worst case scenario thing to you. You will figure something out. And I'm about to talk about ways to avoid actually losing that money, because that is, of course, what most people watching this are probably afraid of. But I think there is massive value in getting to a mental state where you're not even that afraid of losing that money, and realizing that the learning experience and the risk of going for it is so incredibly worth it that losing that little bit of money would just be like a little blip in the journey. It wouldn't be game over. So you want to start selling on Amazon, but you think it's risky. The only thing you're really risking here is a few $1,000s, right? $5,000, maybe $10,000. You're not really even risking that, and I'll get to that in a minute. But let's first just frame this. If your grandpa's generation wanted to start a business, what would he have had to do? He would have had to sign a lease on a building. He would have had to hire employees that he may have not been able to trust. Maybe put bars on the windows to not get his place broken into, and to lock the cash in the back, and deal with all kinds of shady stuff, and have so much overhead expenses, so many monthly expenses, so many yearly expenses, just to give it a potential shot of even running a local business where you'd be there every single day. And now you compare that to the internet and how we can do 99% of this from an iPhone, or if for the other 1%, you can do it from a laptop, right? And it's incredible. I mean, we can connect to suppliers around the world. We can connect to customers around the world. We can do there's so many softwares and tools and ways of doing these things that are just kind of mind-blowing, and we really take it all for granted compared to how complicated and risky things really were. So your only risk here is $5,000, right? And are you even risking that? I would say you're really not, because there are several things we can do to make our risk of that initial investment mitigate that risk as much as possible. So we're only playing on as much of the upside as possible while limiting the downside as much as possible. That is what your entire philosophy of getting into this business should be, or any business. How can I mitigate my potential failure while partaking in the potential upside? So I would argue the first thing in the context of Amazon that mitigates your risk is doing your product selection. And now, of course, this is something I talk about all the time, and you're probably saying, okay, Matt, like, that sounds stupid. You're telling me about risk and you're saying number one, product selection. Well, in the Amazon world, product selection is pretty much number one to everything. And the reason that I'm saying that is because the more confident you are in having a good choice, the less chance that product's gonna suck, right? Like, for example, if I was betting on you guys to launch a product and I knew what the products were and I knew that I had given you all the same strategies and stuff, obviously I would bet on the ones that I thought had the best chance of success. So if you came to me with a product that I didn't think was gonna succeed, I wouldn't wanna bet on you. On a product level, you can take out the risks. You can figure out where the most upside is, where the most potential is, figure out where the opportunity really lies within the niche that you're looking at. That is the first way to mitigate risk. Now, on top of that, with the Amazon world, you're buying something, your inventory, that inventory has intrinsic value. It has value. Unless you get completely screwed and get scammed by your supplier, I'll talk about that next, or you receive something that is not what you paid for. Assuming you don't do those things, which I'll cover next, you're left with a physical asset, your product. And worst case scenario, you could figure out a way to get rid of that at around break even. So what you're really afraid of here is maybe breaking even, maybe losing a little bit of money. You're most likely not going to lose your entire initial investment unless you really mess things up, which if you did proper product research, then at least your product has some intrinsic value. And next, if you don't screw up with the way you deal with suppliers. So if you lay things out the right way with them and you have the right inspections, you pay with the right methods where you're protected, you don't release the funds until you've confirmed that things are going the way that they should be going. All of those steps are easy and those details are readily available. If you don't just gloss over that and wire money to China, then you're not going to have those problems, which means you're not going to get scammed or end up with something that you didn't want. Therefore, you're ending up with a product that has value that you could always liquidate. And also realize that, again, in our grandparents' age, information wasn't even available. You couldn't Google stuff, you couldn't watch YouTube, you couldn't listen to podcasts, you couldn't potentially go into courses. You didn't have any of that. You just had, maybe the guy down the street or whatever. But you're going to have people along this journey with you that you can, in the Facebook group, in my group that you might as well join in the description for free. You can network with people and you can get help along the way, and you'll get updates from YouTube when things change, when strategies change. Like, you can keep your finger on the pulse of business. And if you do those things, you're mitigating your risk because you're staying involved with what's going on and knowing the current path. So then you can follow that and always be adapting and always be learning so you don't just fall behind. So you need to realize that worst case scenario is not that bad. Maybe if you have a worst case scenario that really is that bad, let me know. I'm curious what it is. I'm curious if I could think of a potential solution. Leave it in the comments. But I would venture to guess that most of these fears are just fears, and the real risk is not all that risky. If you really break it down, if you really write it out, if you really think about what you would do in these situations, you realize that it just kind of falls away. And when you compare it to that upside, it's worth it. And when you realize that you could liquidate your inventory, and when you realize that you're not going to get scammed if you do things the right way, and if you do the research to make sure you're getting into something with the highest level of potential for success and the lowest potential for downside, that then you're not really taking all that big of a gamble. You're just moving things around and trying to take the best path available to you. So overall, I feel that it is a worthy risk to take. If you feel like there's something out there that's more for you, that you're destined to do something more, that this regular life isn't right, you're right. It's not. And the people that are stuck there are stuck there. and it's worth going for. So I hope that I am playing some sort of small role and in helping push you onto that journey through these videos, through the Facebook group, through everything that I'm putting out there. I hope that I am pushing you along to really go for it, because I think it's worth it. And I would love to help you more. So, join the Facebook group. In the description, there's also a link to my Zero to Brand program, which is everything A to Z to launch your brand on Amazon and set it up for the future of growing and scaling that beyond that. And I'd love to help some of you in there if you think that's a fit for you. And if not, join the Facebook group. And at the very least, leave comments on this video, feed the algorithm. Let me know what you'd like to see next. I'm always looking for video ideas. Smash that like button, of course. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this, and see you in the next video. Peace.